Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had so many questions. How do I record an episode? Where do I find background music? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? Where do I find advertisers? The answer to every one of those questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and 100% ridiculously easy to use. Let me tell y'all. Everybody keeps asking me, what do I do to podcast? I'm telling you, the answer is Anchor. They created my RSS feed. They gave me my first 2 sponsors that you're now hearing on this podcast. I want you to know that I believe in Anchor. I've grown with this platform since February, and I'm going to continuously grow with this platform. So if you always wanted to start a podcast, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Walk by Faith Show. I want to first thank you all for tuning in to today's episode. I started this podcast to highlight inspirational beings anywhere and everywhere globally. I want to continue to push the agenda of inspiring others to embrace their faith, assimilate into the entrepreneurship culture, and to help build generational wealth for minorities all over. This week's episode is focused on youth, faith, and brand exposure, with my guest, Mr. Christopher Adams. He is someone who truly walks by faith. I recently met him right as I was graduating college, and he made sure that we stayed connected so that we could complete this podcast today. So, Christopher, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm good. So can you tell the people who you are and about your brand?
Okay. Well, for starters, I'm Christopher Adams. Just a really inspirational young man from just being known for my fashion. But I grew up and built a brand for myself that is Chris by Christopher, and it's actually a personal brand that takes away from the impact of my own life. That I go into make an impact into other people's lives, and mostly to my youth and young people. So my brand is a brand and a platform of just being a inspirational voice and figure to the youth community.
Okay. And again, guys, his brand is called Chris by Christopher.
Indeed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chris, what was college like for you financially, and how did you deal with being broke for almost 6 months?
Yes. After my freshman year at PV, I went to HEC, and just being always been heavily involved in school, it opened up doors for me to be hired on as a business officer for their financial business office there for Houston Community College. So I was able to go to work and go to school. And I built that, and I got accustomed to that type of lifestyle of working and going to school. And so when I graduated with my associates last year, not last year, but 2016 December, I graduated with my associate's degree in business administration and accounting. It was time I need to finish on with my bachelor's degree. And I mean, Jasmine, girl, when I was in high school, you hear so many bad things about Prairie View. But when I got there my freshman year, it all changed. So that impact of change on me made me want to come back to Prairie View, made me leave my job, resign from my job where I could have still had that job and went to a school here in Houston. But no, I wanted to go to Prairie View where the student body, the student body involvement is out of this world. I don't think no other college has this type of involvement on their campus where entrepreneurs who really want to be somebody and they're working with the people that's right in front of them. I want to get back in tune with that, so I resigned from my job. And so
Okay.
I resigned from my job in January 2017 to take on the spring semester at Prairie View. And when I went through there, Jasmine, I don't mean no shade to Prairie View, but it is the truth. But I don't want anyone to take it in a shady type of way that when you're there, it's very unprofessional. It's very unprofessional. You're running into rare people who has a professional work ethic, and I just couldn't deal with that because I've grown to be a professional young man in all areas of my life, where I just didn't have to take that. And I was like, man, I don't have to be here. I gave up so much. I gave up so good to be here. And so that is why I was saying that life told me that you made a mistake, that you were on a good path, but you fell off. So let's get you back on path. And when life speaks to you through reality. Everyone knows that life is the universe, how we live and what we go through when we live. And the things that our trials and tribulations we face through, it's called reality. And reality really knocked me down. At the ending of going through that semester, I had so many problems there on campus from just being involved with unprofessional people. So much trouble with housing that I didn't have to take because I had a home. You know, I had my own room, my own space at home. You know,
Yeah.
so all that.
So what you're saying, Chris, is that you sacrificed to come back to Prairie View, and it didn't turn out to be the best decision because of finances and then professionalism.
Yes.
And for 6 months, you had to go without income, and that's what led you down to being broke. But you can overcome that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so I just want to ask you about the next question, which is, as millennials, we deal so much with pressure from social media, the expectation to be perfect and to have it all together, which is sometimes, almost always, unreasonable and unfair.
Oh, yes.
Because life lessons, reality, as you speak, it will happen. And we have to be able to embrace that we will go through challenges, but we will overcome them. So how have you dealt with the disappointments in your life? And most people simply give up. They say, you know, my situation is the worst that's ever happened in life. But how have you dealt with with overcoming that disappointment? How have you been able to turn your situations around?
My key is to fall back. I fall back away from people. I fall back away from just really from friends. That's what I mean about people. I fall back from everything and literally focus on myself. See what is going on in my life. See why has this happened to me? Not necessarily other things that that's not really happening to you, but I'm talking about the literally like life lessons on why am I going through this? Why has this happened to me? I have to fall back and focus on that and get myself together, because that is the part of embracing the process. The process is going to make you. It's going to, if you go with the flow, if you ride the wave of the process that you're going through, embracing it, you're going to get the win at the end. And that is why I fall back from everything and everyone, and I focus on me and getting myself together.
Okay. So, thank you. So basically, one of your tactics that you use is to fall back, to just reevaluate the situations that's happening and revisit those same situations whenever you understand and have processed what's happened.
Yes, keywords is to reevaluate. Evaluation is a major key. It is a key, and that's something you want to use. And like you said, some people want to give up. If you want to give up, don't give up on yourself. Give up on things that are not serving you, that is not serving your personal self. If you want to give up on those things so you can focus on yourself and ride this wave of what you're going through.
Okay. And right now, I want to segment into our next question, which is dealing with the loss of family members. Right now, once you graduate college, you begin to realize that your parents or your grandparents aren't as young as they used to be. The older you got, the older they got. And you did share with me that you lost your grandmother, somebody that was very key to who you are as a person. And I want to know, how did how did you take that? How did you handle losing your grandmother? And what does walking by faith mean, even on the good days and the bad days?
Oh, yes. Man, that hit me a little bit like, wow, this just really happened. My grandma was really sick, and we were prepared, we were getting ourselves and we were prepared for this day, but when that day comes, you just like, man, damn, this day has hit me. You no longer see your grandmother. That's what hits you instantly. And it hit me right after the spring semester I left Prairie View and just last year, spring 2017, when life was getting me together. After I finished that spring semester, life had told me this summer, I'm able to say this part here because I'm looking back on it. But life said in my advance was that this summer I'm going to get you together so you can get right back on the track that you were. And although your grandmother has nothing to do with it, it was just, she was the beginning of it all. Losing her took me in a way of my emotions. So that's where I feel like where life is saying, we're going to start here, And how do you want to deal with and how we lose people in our life? It goes back to the simple saying of just love and cherish the people who love you, who love you for who you are. Cherish your mother and your grandparents who have paved the way for you, not only in a Black historical way, but just in a home environment way, that we know of our grandparents and our mothers to love us in a special way. Will be there for us through thick and through thin, for bad or for worse. For good or for worse. So you have to cherish them while they're here, and especially when you realize I'm getting older and your grandparent is getting older. You need to grow up and say to yourself, let me take some time out of my day to at least call my grandma. If your grandma stay around the corner or live near you, go see your grandma. And that's how it was for me. I knew that time was coming. So you want to show them that you love them. And that's what they mean when they say, bring your family their roses now. Don't bring them to the funeral. You bring them the roses. Indeed.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Okay. And thank you for sharing that. I need to recap on it. Thank you for sharing that, because a lot of people may not give their parents or their grandparents the roses while they're here. People think that you last forever. People are dying young and they're dying old, and we really cannot take life for granted. Period. Life
and
cannot
that's what's
be
really
taken for granted.
That's what's really hitting us at this new age. It's not necessarily more of our old people dying, but it's more of our young people dying, and that should be a wake up call within itself.
It should. And I have my next question for you is highlighting the youth. And we know that Christopher wants to target the youth. What do you think is the most pressing issue with youth today, and how do you plan to bridge that gap?
The most present issue with youth today goes back to what you're saying, social media, that everyone has to show their highlight reel. Everyone has to be more perfect, more beautiful. I have to be more on the scenes more. It is such a negative aspect right now that it is hurting us, and it's taking us down. It's taking our own individuality down. Because it's making people to be something that they're not. It's making people lose their authenticity. And so how to bridge that gap is what I'm doing right now with my brand. It's being a voice, turning my brand into a platform to be a voice. And as I grow older, as I grow up to build my brand more, I plan to bridge that gap by doing more interviews and talks like this with people like you. And with my overall goal is to make it into the entertainment, but my main purpose for being there is to be that voice in the spotlight that kind of pushes us to always gotta get it right, the entertainment industry, watching our favorite celebrities who are idols and role models to us, looking at them as they're hot. You never show what it is, what you did to get there to this highlight. And that's the most important thing. We look at these celebrities and they constantly brag. They don't talk about the struggle. They brag about the struggle in a way to where, it's not where we can get it, that you go through the struggle. You don't think the struggle is cool. No, the struggle is not cool. You have to go through it. And they're always showing their highlight reel and bragging about the struggle, but they never talk about the process of how to get where they're at now. And so me making it to the industry is very important to me, and very important for me when I get there is to be that voice and to talk about the process, the struggles and how you get through them. Because it's people like us, we're watching our role models. We're looking at you, because that's where we want to be. And by you showing us always the big things and never the process to get to the big things, we always got to put our own personal selves in debt of not being who we really are, on social media. Am I bringing understanding?
Yes, you're bringing understanding. So let me wrap it up. Basically,
okay, great.
Being on social media does not define you. It does not make you who you are. And for young people to look at this as their highlight reel, it may cause more depression. It may cause comparison issues. It may cause you to feel that you're not in the lane that you're supposed to be. And I want you to know, Chris, that's a beautiful thing that you want to do when you do make it to the entertainment industry, that you want to make sure that people understand that it did cost something. I had to give something up. I had to struggle. I was broke before. I did have to go to college. I did have to make sure that I networked with the right people. There was a process.
Yes.
It didn't just happen automatically. By the time I posted it with my finger did not mean it was always there. There was a process. So that's a word for somebody out there.
This. Okay, I got the word because you sure did print it out.
Look, that's a word. That's a word. Now, Chris,
Indeed.
I got one more question for you. What does walking by faith mean to you?
It means believing in yourself and believing in your high power, your holiness. A lot of people don't believe in God, but those people who don't believe in God, they believe in in universal factors that come from God, So wherever you stand in life, you just make sure you believe in your high power as well, because your high power is working everything out for your good. That's how we get our wins at the end of our process. That is why our high powers, universal powers, God, whomever you want to call him to be, that's why it is said that we must embrace the process, because he knows that going through the process is gonna make you to win. So walking by faith is believing in yourself, knowing that everything that you go through in life, good or bad, is for you. It's for your growth. And then number 2, you believe in your high power, your holy figure in your life. And that's usually a spiritual thing for those who needs to get that.
Okay. Well, I always end the the podcast with a Bible verse that really speaks to what this podcast meant. And I chose Matthew 5, verses 1 through 12. And it's just going to really tie in what we talked about today. It says you're blessed when you're at your end of your rope. With less of you, there's more of God in his rule. You're blessed when you feel you've lost what is most dear to you, only that you can be embraced by the one that is most dear to you. You're blessed when you're content with just who you are, no more or no less. That's the moment you find yourselves proud owners of everything that can't be bought. You're blessed when you work up a good appetite for God, and he's food and drink for the best meal you'll ever eat. And you're blessed when you care. At the moment of being careful, you'll find yourself cared for. You're blessed when you get your inside world, your mind and your heart put right. Then you can see God in the outside world. And you're blessed when you can show people how to cooperate instead of competing or fighting. That's when you discover who you really are and your place in God's family. You're blessed when your commitment to God provokes persecution, and your persecution drives you even deeper into God's kingdom. I really said all that to say that you need to count your blessings, because yes, people will fight adversity. Yes, you will be broke some days. Yes, college is difficult. Yes, looking at social media and comparing your life to others is never the right way to go. But if you look at your situation right now, and you look at Chris, where you were and where you're going, you're nothing like what you were before.
Yeah.
And you're continuing to be greater and greater every day.
Indeed.
And with that, you were blessed. You were blessed when you didn't think you knew it. You were blessed when you were going through your trials and your tribulations. You were blessed when you lost your grandmother. Even though you may not have been able to see it at the time, but you were still blessed. You didn't lose any blessings. And at the end of it, I thank you, Chris, for coming to this. Are there any final words that you have that you want to say? And did that Bible verse mean anything to you? You know, let me know. This is our recap at the very end.
I just want to just thank you so much for having me. It is, I mean, ever since I met you, and at the very ending of the semester, literally, I think it was like in April and May, I met you at the very end of the semester, and it has always been a plug-in into something. You plugged me into meeting Terrence, who shot my promo video for my brand, which was totally awesome. You plugged me into this to where we're able to talk about something so meaningful. You are definitely pretty in person, so your name fulfills you, the pretty plug, because she's going to plug you in. You got nothing but the good juices, I'm telling you, and you're making it happen. You're making it happen. So thank you so much. Everything that you just said from this Bible verse, I totally 100% agree, because looking back on it from now, everything you have said has happened in that order. In the ways that you said, it has happened in that order, man. And I just thank you so much.
You're welcome. And this podcast literally is just to highlight just how great you are. So I got to come back and thank you, Chris. Thank you for being Chris by Christopher.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Gladly I do.
Okay, so everyone, I just want you to know that you're blessed even when you think you're not. Let's look at adversity as a good thing and embrace every single piece of it. And lastly, I want to thank Chris and everyone that will listen to this, and tune in next week for the next episode. And peace out from the Pretty Plug.
Indeed.